Day one of Warzone 2 was unbelievably hyped. It was a couple weeks after the launch of Modern Warfare 2 versus Warzone 1, which we had to wait months for. 2 weeks of playing, though, we realized, okay, this game is full of bugs, and clearly they are not fixing it yet. It's not letting me control it. It's not. I'm stuck in a rock.
Oh no.
Where did my bomb drone go now?
I'm dead? Am I dead? My game is frozen. And what the hell happened to everything that was in Warzone 1? 4 months later, a lot of people have given up. A lot of people even started to finally play DMZ. Not interested in this mode, you know, this is for these other kids. Well, let me try it out. Oh, this is actually kind of cool. You could do missions. You could just mess around. It doesn't have to be as sweaty. How'd you spawn with the UAV? How did you get your gun back way faster than me? Oh, you bought it? But that's what I'm working towards, though, at the end game, right? Like, once I complete Tier 5, that's what I'll get. There's nothing? 6 months. Finally, we've got so many of the missing features that are in Warzone 1 back. 1 year later, well, time for a new Call of Duty, my friends. Apparently, Modern Warfare 3 is coming. But do we need a Warzone 3? And just move on from this game. Just be happy with what you have, said, well, nobody ever. If we get a well-polished game, everybody knows it's too short. We need more content. And if it's buggy and unfinished, well, they shouldn't have done it. They shouldn't have released it. There is always going to be outrage. But what is past the outrage, and where can we have a conversation? I've played Call of Duty's Battle Royales since their launch. Back in Blackout, Warzone 1, obviously way too much, and of course, fully through Warzone 2. I haven't stopped, even played through all of the DMZ content. But first impressions are so important. I feel like people are more forgiving when it comes to creators or even smaller companies, right? Like my merch at stonemountain64.com. We can't overnight you things because we ain't Amazon, bro. But when you're looking at Call of Duty, the giant AAA studio making billions, is delivering a bug mess of a game, I get it. Because the thing is, they have delivered some excellent updates to Warzone 2, but people still have a bad taste in their mouth. But there are a lot of us that have continued to play the game and have seen this thing evolve past its first impressions. And while it's definitely still not perfect, it is in such a better state than when the game came out. It's like, personally, I think if they released Warzone 3, it would make everything so much worse, especially from all of the credit they lost from the first game going to the second one. I feel like they should just continue to develop this game and let it ride. Build this thing up. A lot of people have been telling me they should do a Blackout 2, though. And the more I've thought about it, that would be worlds better, at least of a Warzone 3. My fear, though, is just like what we saw with Warzone 2, is that they're going to have to take 5 steps backwards in order to take 1 forwards and implement that one new thing, or change the design or switch to this new engine. And realistically, I think that will happen. I don't know if this is going to be a cycle that Call of Duty ever decides to get off of, because they bid on it for so long and it's working so well and they can make so much money from it. They create the new game, everybody buys the new game. I thought we were kind of off of that because those new games that were coming out were just getting implemented directly into Warzone 1. But clearly, that game was not built to scale, and it's really not going to be until the next Call of Duty comes out we get to see if they did a better job building Warzone 2 and having that available to scale. But if it continues down the road that they've been going on, in the last 6 months, we've got one-shot sniping back. We had a new map, Ashika, with another one coming. Blueprints were added to the game. This wasn't even in the game at launch. When you have weapon tuning and so many different attachments with all these, it was such a pain in the ass switching everything and customizing it every time. Completely removed the bag and the armor system. Pinging is fixed. Remember when it was all the same exact color? And even now the pinging system, when you try and live ping, is not as good as what it was in the first game. Custom perk packages, they're back, and they're even back to individual loadouts with way more free ones coming in. They didn't even have free loadouts. Of course, Plunder is just a staple. Ranked is a complete new expansion and direction for the game. Imagine how crazy that would have been back in Verdansk. Of course, we would have had to deal with way more hackers and cheaters, and even on that front, I haven't seen any, especially compared to Warzone 1. It is far better than when it was blatantly running into hackers doing hacked or cracked episodes almost every single day. Custom games are back. You can even use a code to enter, although they are a bit buggy. They added back the Gulag token, Res token, finding perks on the ground, and I think it's even a cooler system having these perk packages that you can also pick up off of your own dead body, so you don't need to go get another loadout again, worry about finding cash if you kill a player. You can even take their entire perk set, and if they ever get this reconnect feature to work, still coming soon, at least as I'm recording this, that was one of my biggest requests of a feature, especially for DMZ. I'm surprised they even released ranked without it. If we had this game with still all of the content from Warzone 1 and even got rid of the ridiculous progression system for the weapons so that you could just use and customize what you want, I feel like the actual gameplay experience and the amount of content that it would offer would just be like, it would be so undeniable. There are still a lot of bugs, though. Solo stim shot self-reses haven't worked for months. The amount of no-reg sniper hits that I get is infuriating at times. I literally see the round explode on the player because I'm using explosives, and I don't even get a hit marker, especially when it's midair. Like, there's nothing else this could have exploded against. How did it explode? DMZ blueprints are constantly missing attachments for me when I'm trying to load in, even lagging to entire different places of the map where you just teleport. I don't know if that's happened to you, but it's happened to me a few times now. Or you try and run somebody over, and it looks like you hit them on your screen, but they just somehow rubber band and they're perfectly fine and kill you. The UI is still terrible. We don't have gestures in the game. The progression is, while better for, I think, the long term and already having attachments unlocked as new guns come out, is still so convoluted and confusing for new players trying to explain them, like, how to get the attachments for this gun that I've built. You can, but, like, is it really fun? And they add things that are just frustrating, where you run over ammo and now it fills up free ammo slot, but then fills up your bag. Maybe have that as an option in the settings if you want to turn it on. And why are LTMs a thing of the past? The third-person mode. What happened to that? Assimilation in Unhinged. The only really crazy fun mode is the April Fool's one, where thermites send you off into the air with low gravity. I want to see more of those, or at least give it to us in custom games so we can make some of our own. They have done LTMs, but they're much more focused on the main game loop. Minis, Resurgence on Almaz, and I will say solos, Resurgence, Almaz, that should just be a staple. Final zone speeds to me are still way too fast. They don't let you play and enjoy the end game that you worked your way all the way up to get. It's pulling so far out of the zone so quickly, especially depending on how many people are alive or where the game is ending. That can be way more if there's a bunch of buildings and you want to have time to fight out. Let's also get that firing range going to the point where we're out to 300 meters so we can actually use snipers and learn to drop on these things, especially since the velocities are so slow. Why do we need to have the 3 different sections you stand in that move the targets that you can't even shoot while they're moving anyway? Call of Duty's also been very big on Easter eggs and puzzle-type content, and I will say they do still have it, but it is in DMZ. I didn't think I was going to love DMZ as much when I first started playing, but this was really part of what made me enjoy it. That on top of all of the updates, 4 maps, some fun bosses, missions that are fantastic with friends, that also have PvP elements to it, especially with the first mission revamp that they did. It added a lot more interesting, fun ones with the Crown and Redacted factions they added. But I do have to mention, unfortunately, that a lot of these missions, as I'm doing them, don't actually register, or it requires you to do it rather than your teammate to do it, which some of them allow you to do, and it's very buggy and frustrating. What is the reason to play? The third insured slot that has a 3-hour cooldown on it? Or do you just spend real money to get something that's way better with a 15-minute cooldown on a slot? Of course, you can't have the second gun, can't put any gun in it, but you can get 12 of those guns back in the same time that somebody else grinded something for weeks to get. And it does make those fun missions a lot easier to do, but some of the really annoying missions are, well, why do I want to do this? I just want to do some more fun missions. Can I just skip this? Especially once you already have everything, which is why I understand them doing a wipe. I did a full video talking more about that. And the stuff that you would want, like spawning in a game with a UAV for free, is not even possible to get. So you could buy it, and then it's like, all right, now I'm juiced up, I'm ready to go, I can go take everybody out, complete this, but what's the big reward? And there are some very, very cool ones, like the Heated Madness blueprint, the gun screen, which I just finally unlocked, but it's still not big upgrades for the actual gameplay loop itself. A lot of the players that are the most hardcore on DMZ are literally making entire new accounts, restricting themselves away from any pay to win to give themselves a more intense experience and something bigger to work towards an accomplishment. I do still have a lot of optimism for this entire genre game category, which is why I'm on the lookout for so many of these other extraction games. If you see cool ones, tell me. There's been so much that happened over these last 6 months and upgrades. Like, I am very happy with it. And if there's anything that I missed too, let me know. Like it in the comment. I read through all of them. But at the end of the day, this is, to me, still the best battle royale for just a fun, casual play. And while it's not the pinnacle of competitive battle royale, making good strides on that side too. I'd love to see it bigger dive into the fun custom mode, LTM aspect. But when you go into a game, the entire way through, there's something to do. There is a ton of players, and there is a massive map. There's lots of different weapons and builds that you can try and play however you want to, rather than having to always run and find the specific gun. You can customize it and create that loadout, that style, that weapon that you know. The animations are clean, they're immersive, the gameplay is so easy with the recoil. there's not a big gap to get into it. And to me, Battle Royale is still one of the greatest challenges in FPS games, especially in solos. This one also being a fantastic play with squads, being able to bring your friends back. Even in DMZ, where you can play with friends, it is such an easier experience than what I've had trying to play Tarkov. And most importantly, the sniping is fun and rewarding, even though it is very difficult to use, especially compared to the previous game. But I wanted to do a little recap since this game has been out for so long, and remember the state that it's in right now to see where it's also at a year from now. And I hope you enjoyed. This left a good taste in your mouth, unlike what Call of Duty does to so many. I want to leave a good taste in everyone's mouth. So make sure you're subbed, and thanks so much for watching it. That's for this one. Stonemouse64, over and out.